Chapter 14, the factors of production and the sectors of the economy. We talk about factors of production, we're talking about resources that helps us in the production of goods and services. So if factors of production is being mentioned, it means there's production. So let's go down and see. Well, what is production? Production is a process that involves converting resources into goods or services. These goods and services are provided to satisfy the needs and wants of people. Before we go to the example, so production is the creation of goods and services to satisfy the needs and wants of consumers or customers. That is what production is. So production is not complete until it gets to the final user. So when you have produced products, they are in here. They are not production until it is bought and used. That's production. That's why we say production is the creation of utility. So what is utility? The amount of satisfaction that can be derived from the consumption of any commodity. So you have the product here, but I have not consumed it. Nobody has consumed it. So it's not production. I think the point is clear. Is it clear, please? So some examples of production include one, a baker using flour, yeast, salt, and water to make bread. That's production. A large computer manufacturer using people to assemble components in the factory to make laptop computers. Production. A dentist, production. A taxi driver, service, but it's production too. All of these examples are involve using a range of resources to produce goods or provide services. Whatever we have to produce, whatever we have to sell, involves factors of production. There's nothing that will not involve the 4 factors of production. There's nothing. Teaching that I'm doing right now involves the 4 factors of production. So whatever we do, it involves it. The point is clear. So we start. So what are the 4 factors of production? We have land. When we talk about land, it is fixed in nature. And it's wherever we have, that is land. So this is what businesses will build upon. This is what companies will build upon. This is what schools will build upon. So it is fixed in nature. And whatever, anything on land is land. Is it clear? So let's see what they say here. And it is immobile. Land is immobile. It's not, you can't move it. But it can become a variable in the long run. That means you can use it to do whatever you want to do in the long run. But it is immobile. You cannot move it from one place to another. That is land. So, okay, land includes natural resources, oil. I said it already. Anything on land is land, clear. So we have, it says some of the land resources used by businesses are non-renewable. This means that once they have been used, they cannot be replaced. So on land, we have renewable resources and non-renewable resources. We call them renewable because we use them, as soon as we use them, they can still, we can still get them again every now and then. They are not, the usage will not stop. Yeah. The consumption will not stop. So that's why we call it non-renewable. I think it's clear. So they cannot be used up. But for that is why they are non-renewable renewable. But for non-renewable, as soon as we use them, they can be used up. So used up resources are non-renewable. Unused up resources are renewable, sorry. Is it clear? Yeah. Like fish, they are renewable, they will still be there. You take them today, they will still be there tomorrow, and that's all. So that's about land. Land is clear, right? And there's a reward for land, which is rent income. The reward for land is rent. Clear? Then we go to labor. For labor, we're talking about the physical and mental effort that helps in the production of goods and services. The physical and mental effort that helps in the production of goods and services. That is labor. So then we have, it said, labor is a workforce in the economy. Manual workers, skilled workers, and managers are all members of the nation's workforce. The quality of individual workers will vary considerably. Each worker is unique, possessing a different set of abilities, characteristics, skills, knowledge, intelligence, and emotions. The value of an individual worker to a business is their human capital. It is possible to increase the value of human capital through training and education. This will help to make workers more productive. So for labor, there's what we call human capital. That's what we can bring out, what we can give, what we can bring to the table. That's what we call human capital. So my worth, my value as an employee is my human capital. So now that you know what human capital is, so what will improve my work? What will improve my skills? What will improve my knowledge? Training and education. So human capital can be developed through training and education. Do you get it? There's labor, there's not just labor, there's human capital in labor.
Yeah.
Because if you are just a worker, that means you're not adding value. We want to add value. And to add value, that brings about our human capital. And for us to have that, to improve on this, we need to be educated and trained. Is it clear? They will have capital. Are you there? So capital is often said to be an artificial resources because it is made up by labor. There are two types of capital. So what we call capital is human-made resources that are help in the production of goods and services. Land is fixed, it's natural. But for capital, it is human-made resources that helps in the production of goods and services. This is economics. If it is business, you can say it is money. But here, it is human-made resources like laptop. Laptop is made by men. Yeah, the resources used are natural, like rubber and the rest. But they are being converted into finished goods. So who does this? Who do this? The people. They put them together. So that's why we say a laptop, a pen, a chair, a table, a fridge, a refrigerator, or whatever it is, they are all human-made resources. And any human-made resources is called capital. Is it clear? Capital. And the reward for capital, well, before we go into that, the reward for labor is wages or salaries. That's for labor. Then capital, the reward for capital is interest. So whatever we have made, we want it to increase. That's why we make it. Do you understand? Do you understand, please?
Yes.
So we have different types of capital. We have the working capital and the fixed capital. Why do we call it working capital? We call it working capital because this is the capital we use in day-to-day running of the business. So every now and then, this is what we use. We call it working capital or circulating capital. So let's see what they wrote there. Which refers to stock of raw materials and components that will be used up in production. It also includes stocks of finished goods that are waiting to be sold. Retailers such as supermarkets and chain stores often hold large quantities of stocks because they specialize in selling finished goods. So we call it working capital because this is what we are selling. So this is where we generate our revenue. That is working capital. Clear? Then we have the fixed capital. When we talk about fixed capital, they can last for a longer period of time within the business. These are equipment, the laptop, the machinery we use. They are fixed capital. So let's see what this is. Which refers to factories, even the factories, the premises, the offices, they are fixed capital. We use them in production. Is it clear? What we sell in production are working capital. What we use in that production is fixed. Clear? It is fixed because it will not be converted into a final product. We're not selling it. Fixed capital is used in production to convert working capital into goods and services. So equipment are used to convert goods and services, to convert resources into finished goods. I think it's clear. And the reward for capital, like I told you, is interest. Clear? Then we have enterprise. For enterprise means the skills needed by an entrepreneur to start up a business. The skills required by entrepreneurs to start up a business, that is enterprise. Or we say the office of an entrepreneur, but that is business anyway. But here, enterprise means the skills, the knowledge that is needed by entrepreneurs. So who are the entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs are people who have put the risk, who have put their own money, their own savings into starting up a business. So they start up the business, taking the risk to set up that business. So do you understand what entrepreneurs are here?
Yeah.
So they said entrepreneurs play a special role in the economy. They're responsible for setting up and running the business. Without them, production would not take place. But what exactly do they do? So for entrepreneurs, they are the controllers of all factors of production. So it means without entrepreneurs, we won't even be talking about production because they control the organized factors of production. And factors of production are used in the production of goods and services. So those that involve, those that organize these things are the entrepreneurs. Definitely without them, we won't be talking about a pen, a marker, a laptop, or whatever it is. So what do they do? One, they come up with a business idea. So entrepreneurs draw up initiative. They find out
what is missing.
So they come up with it. They try to build up something, an initiative. They find the gap in the market and they make a business out of it. That is the first point. They come up with a business idea. Is it clear?
Yeah.
The second point, they are business owners. Yeah. They put money into the business. They invest the business. So it's their own savings. So they are the owners of the business. The third one, they are risk takers. Why do we call them risk takers? We call them risk takers because they put their own hard-earned money into the business, and this business, there's no possibility that it is going to be profitable. So that means if the business go down, all the money that they put into business go down too. So that's why they are risk taker. Is it clear?
Yeah.
That means they don't know. It is uncertain what would happen to the business.
Yeah.
And still they go ahead putting money into it. Entrepreneurs are responsible for organizing the other three factors of production. Like I told you, they are the controllers of land, labor, and capital.
Yeah.
Is it clear? Some firms use relative more labor than capital when producing goods and services. Therefore, production is said to be labor intensive. So here we're talking about labor and capital intensive production. So we call it labor intensive, not because they don't use equipment, they use, but they use more workers than equipment. That is labor intensive. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have capital intensive. It is capital intensive not because they don't use workers. They use workers, but they rely mostly on equipment and machinery for their production of goods and services. Production. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Do you understand capital intensive and product intensive there? Okay, or labor intensive. We go to the primary sector. Are you there? The primary sector. The economy is divided into different sectors. In developed countries such as the US and Germany, most businesses provide services. They may be fitness centers, insurance brokers, retailers, and the rest. Well, what they're telling us is that developed countries, they deal with services, the tertiary sector of the economy. But developing countries or less developed countries, they are always in the primary sector. That is where the raw materials are being extracted. Do you understand? So we go with the primary sector. The primary sector involves the extraction of raw materials. The primary sector involves the extraction of raw materials from earth. Example is agriculture, fishing, forestry, mining. These are all primary sector. They involve extraction, like fishing, farming, agriculture.
Yeah.
Then we have the secondary sector. Are you there?
Yeah.
For the secondary sector, they convert these raw materials that has been extracted by the primary sector into finished goods. And what are finished goods? These are goods that are to be sold. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So examples of the secondary sector are the producers of goods, the manufacturers of goods, road building, construction, the bakery. They are all secondary sector. Clear? Not the supermarket selling bread, the bakery. Clear? All right. Then we have the tertiary sector. For the tertiary sector, we're talking about the service sector. This is where services are done. So they involve the retailing, banking, teaching, tourism, and so on. These are all service sector. These are all services, and they are in the tertiary sector. They are part of the developed economy.
Yeah.
So examples, they make commercial services like freight, debt collection, employment agency, financial services like the banking, household services like plumbing, decorating, gardening, house maintenance, leisure services like tourism. I said that too. Professional services like accountancy, lawyer, and the rest. Transport, train, taxi, air services, they are all in the tertiary sector. Clear? We go to the changes in the importance of different sectors. The number of people employed in each sector does not stay constant over time. Different sectors grow and decline according to economic and social changes. So, changes in the economic sector occurs based on changes in society. A country that is, there's what we call industrialization. Industrialization means that a country that is not developed, not industrialized, become industrialized. A country that is not developed start developing. That is industrialization. It means, oh, this country, they are involved in extraction of raw materials, but now they are converting these raw materials into finished goods. That means industrialization has started taking place in that country. So it means as soon as a country starts developing, progressing, the economic sector will change. Do you understand? There was some time in the past that America was just about raw materials, but now they're in the service sector. They are way ahead. So developed economies now deal with services. Developing one are in the manufacturing, the secondary sector. Less developed ones are still in the primary sector. So the less developed economies, when they become developing, they start going into the secondary sector. When they become developed, they go into the service sector. That is changes in the economy sector. Is it clear?
Yes.
So the more we develop, the more we become developed, the more the changes in our economic sector. Is it clear? So this brings about the industrialization. There's industrialization, which means a non-industrialized environment, economy becomes industrialized. It becomes manufacturing. Then there's deindustrialization. Deindustrialization means you stop manufacturing. You start thinking about services. That's deindustrialization. The transformation from industrialization to the service sector is deindustrialization. Okay, so deindustrialization means decline in the manufacturing sector, decline in the secondary sector to becoming tertiary sector. Industrialization means moving from the primary sector into the secondary sector. Is it clear? Any question about that? So why has manufacturing declined in developed countries while services have grown? People will prefer to spend more on their income or on services than manufactured goods. So the world is changing. People think more about services than goods, buying goods, more of services. Oh, they want to deal with retail. They want to get things online. So things start changing. So people spend more on exploring the world. People spend more in banking rather than buying the goods and services, goods alone. So that has changed. That has reduced the number of consumption in the manufacturing sector. When the number of consumption in the manufacturing sector reduces, that means businesses in the manufacturing sector would also reduce because they are not selling as they used to sell. Do you get the point? The second point, there is fierce competition in the production of manufactured goods from developing countries such as Brazil, China, and India. The competition is increasing. So if the competition continues to be fierce, it means some businesses that cannot keep up with that competitiveness would stop, would fall back. And that reduces the number of industries, the number of manufacturing firms in the country, in the industry. Do you understand? The competition is increasing. As a result of that, some are not able to meet up with that competition. And if you are not unable to meet up with the competition, you fall back. They've left you behind. You can't keep up. So it causes decline too. Do you get it? The third one, as countries develop, their public sector grows. Since the public sector mainly provides services, this adds to the growth of the tertiary sector. So the country continues to develop, and if the country continues to develop, government would have to build more ministries, more parastatals, and they employ more people. So that means the tertiary sector, the service sector will continue to expand. So the more the country develops, the more the tertiary sector will continue to increase. Do you get it? And if the tertiary sector continues to increase, the secondary sector will decline. Clear? And the last one, the advances in technology. Advancement in technology means that employment in manufacturing falls because machines replace people. The manufacturing sector, they use more of equipment. They are capital intensive. The manufacturing sector is what? The car manufacturing companies, example. They are capital intensive. They use more equipment or machine. Yes or no? So because there's new development in terms of technology, they don't need more people anymore. So they need more equipment, they need more machine. So people start, the use of people, the use of workers start reducing in the secondary sector. So that also reduces employment in the secondary sector. And if employment reduces in the secondary sector, those businesses that rely mostly on labor intensive will not be able to continue because they don't have the financial capability to buy advanced technology. Get the point here. The secondary sector, for job to be efficient, for output to increase effectively, productivity to increase in the manufacturing sector, we need more equipment. And with technological advancement, new technology comes in every now and then. Firms that are unable to buy, that cannot afford this latest technology, will not be able to keep up with production, output within the economy. As a result, they stop. They feel discouraged. They can't continue. So there's going to be decline in the manufacturing sector because those firms, those industries cannot afford the latest technology. So it reduces manufacturing sector. Is it clear? Yeah. So I think the point is clear there. Yeah. So the secondary sector industrialization will continue, but as soon as you develop, the industrialization will take place because you're going to the service sector. That's all about that. Then we'll go into growth, develop Developed and developing countries, right? All right. I explained that already. When we talk about developed countries are countries that rely mostly on the tertiary sector. They are involved in tertiary sector services. And for developing countries, there are countries that are industrialization, that are part of industrialization. That's the difference between them. Is it clear? Yeah. So let me see what this. They said there are some differences in the structure of economies, developed and developing economies, countries. In most developed countries, the primary sector is much less important than the tertiary sector. Only a small percentage of the workforce is employed in the primary sector. In many developing countries, the second sector is now going with some expansion of the tertiary sector. For example, the Mexico is there. So developing countries are countries that their employment, the largest proportion of their employment in terms of population are in between the primary sector and the secondary sector. But for developed economies or countries, they have the largest proportion of their population in terms of employment in the tertiary sector. Is it clear? Yeah. So that's the difference between them. Any question? Yeah. Developing have large proportion of percentage of their population in the primary and secondary sector. For developed in the tertiary sector. For non-developed or less developed economies, it's not here anyway. For less developed economies, they have the largest proportion of their population employed in the primary sector. Clear? So that's developed, developing, and underdeveloped. Underdeveloped is the same as less developed. Is it clear? Yeah. We have the multiple choice question. Which of the following business operates in the secondary sector? In the secondary sector. Ford Motor, yeah, is a primary sector. Is a secondary, yes. Santander, I think, is a company, is in services. Qatar Airways is a service. McDonald's is a service. Which of the following is a factor of production? Great. So that here is the chapter there. So that's factors of production and economic sector, right? Mm-hmm.